How your brain picks your crush. Have you ever wondered why you're inexplicably drawn to someone? Why your heart beats faster at the sight of a certain person while remaining unmoved by others? It's not magic, it's psychology. Deep in the architecture of the human mind lies a series of powerful psychological triggers that quietly shape our attractions. In this article, we will break down the insights presented in the YouTube video, How Your Brain Picks Your Crush, revealing the dark psychological mechanisms that subtly influence desire, attachment, and connection. The word, because, instant persuasion. Influence and persuasion. Attraction often begins with influence, and one of the most powerful words in persuasion is, because. When someone gives us a reason, our brains instinctively lower resistance, even if the reason is weak. Satisfying the need for logic. The word, because, satisfies the human need for logic and justification. For example, can I sit here because I like the view? Signaling purpose and confidence. This tiny addition increases compliance and likability because it signals purpose and confidence, two traits that stimulate interest and admiration in the subconscious mind. Intentional and emotionally convincing. In the context of crushes, using because effectively can make your words feel more intentional and emotionally convincing. Non-reactivity, the unshakable aura. Desire often spikes in the presence of mystery. When someone is unreactive, especially in emotionally charged situations, it signals emotional control, confidence, and unpredictability. Why is this attractive? Because emotional self-regulation hints at high status. Bullies, manipulators, or dramatic personalities thrive on reaction. By offering none, you communicate that you are self-contained, and thus, more powerful. The brain interprets non-reactivity as a sign of dominance, which biologically triggers interest, especially in competitive or uncertain social environments. Using their name. Instant emotional hook. The sound of identity. There's one sound every brain perks up for, its own name. Calling someone by name activates deep parts of the brain associated with identity, recognition, and reward. Creating intimacy. In relationships, especially early on, using someone's name creates intimacy and makes them feel special and seen. Building emotional familiarity. This small, subtle act can build emotional familiarity quickly, especially when combined with eye contact and tone. It's a shortcut to emotional relevance. Count to 5, instant action, emotional. Anchoring. Overriding hesitation. The count to 5 rule comes from Mel Robbins' 5-second rule and taps into behavioral inertia. It's used to override hesitation and build decisive momentum. Bypassing fear response. When you decide to act within 5 seconds, to say hello, make eye contact, send a message, you bypass the brain's fear response and demonstrate boldness, which is highly attractive. Amplifying perceived value. It also communicates certainty, which amplifies your perceived value in social and romantic contexts. The power of the pause. Uncover the truth. When it comes to connection, what you don't say can be more powerful than what you do. A well-placed silence in a conversation creates psychological pressure. Most people rush to fill it, often revealing more than they intended. This is known as the power of pause. In romantic dynamics, this technique can encourage deeper emotional sharing, create tension and anticipation, signal confidence and attentiveness. Your silence becomes a magnet for disclosure, which deepens rapport and emotional intimacy. Mirroring. The art of subconscious synchrony. Rapport building. Mirroring is one of the oldest and most effective rapport building techniques in human behavior. Subconscious message. By subtly copying someone's body language, tone, pace, or word choices, you send a subconscious message. I am like you. Psychological comfort. This creates psychological comfort. People are naturally drawn to those who reflect their internal world. Intensifying connection. When attraction is budding, mirroring intensifies connection without effort. This technique bypasses rational filters and works on a primal level, where trust and bonding are formed. Familiarity. Become their mental habit. The brain has a bias. It favors the familiar. Known as the mere exposure effect, this principle explains why seeing or interacting with someone regularly increases your attractiveness to them. simply because they associate your presence with safety and predictability. Want someone to notice you? Be a consistent presence, whether through eye contact, brief conversations, or digital interactions. Over time, your image becomes comforting, then intriguing, then irresistible. Advanced attraction dynamics. Foot in the door. Start by asking for a small favor, something easy. Once granted, the person feels psychologically inclined to say yes to a bigger request later. This plays on our need for consistency. In romantic dynamics, you can build attraction by asking for small investments of time, attention, or energy, leading the other person to feel increasingly committed without realizing it. Being slightly wrong. One clever method to spark deep engagement is to intentionally say something slightly incorrect. For example, you grew up in Paris, right? When they actually grew up in Lyon. The person's need to correct the error leads them to open up and provide more information. It's a backdoor into vulnerability. In romantic conversations, this technique leads people to self-disclose, clarify, and connect more deeply, because now they're involved in the conversation in a corrective, emotionally invested way. Big favors before small ones. Finally, one of the most powerful attraction dynamics is based on reciprocity. Ask for a bigger favor first, something they might say no to or hesitate with. Then, follow up with a smaller favor, which is actually the one you wanted all along. The brain, seeking to relieve guilt or tension, will often say yes to the smaller one. This method frames your real ask as reasonable and fair, increasing the odds of compliance, and making you seem considerate. Conclusion. Your brain doesn't choose your crush at random. It responds to a complex interplay of psychological triggers, emotional patterns, and subconscious cues. By understanding these dark psychology techniques, you're not just learning how influence works, you're learning how attraction is engineered. These tools can be used ethically, to build deeper connection, spark meaningful relationships, and protect yourself from emotional manipulation. Because once you see the pattern, you stop being controlled by it.